Cameroon's Justice Minister, Minister of State and Keeper of the Seal tries to explain the abnormal to convince Cameroonians and the international community on the question of overcrowded prison facilities in Cameroon, but also long detentions, some cases detentions without trial. We are going to be discovering the explanations of the minister who was asked tense questions and serious questions by members of parliament at the lower house of parliament. That's in Wakili Glass House in the nation's political capital city, Yaoundé, and also this edition of the news. A new reports from Human Rights Watch that stings the warring parties in the armed conflict in the Anglophone Northwest and Southwest regions of Cameroon. The International Rights Group again tells that the rights of people caught in the armed conflict running for over 5 years now has been violated. We're just going to be discovering who are responsible for violating the rights of the people of the conflict-stricken Northwest and Southwest regions of Cameroon. Christians of a Presbyterian church in Kumba in the Meme of the Southwest region went protesting. The church house was closed yesterday. They said that they want their charity to continue, but who does not want Mrs. Comfort to continue to finish her tenure is the question we're going to be answering in this edition of the news. You want to know what economic operators, businessmen and women of the economic capital city Douala go through when it rains? Like today, it's been raining all day in the city of Douala. Then Annabella will be giving you just how it takes on business purses when it rains. Seriously, like the case of today in the economic capital city of Cameroon. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome. Thanks for choosing to get information on Equinoxe. We are on to the primetime newscast. Yes, we're live from Douala, Cameroon's economic capital city, Equinoxe Central News Desk. We call it the 6 p.m. edition of news. Yes, it is a primetime news. I told you already. We're going to be starting with news from Douala. Economic operators, businessmen and women say when it rains like the case today heavily, it is a bad business day for them. They are unable to display their goods. Clients are not coming. It's all having a devastating impact on economic activities. Yes, they are crying in an economic capital city, Douala. Annabella went interviewing some business operators in the city. Here is her report.
The rainy season is already here. For about a week now, the weather has been cool but not very favorable for business, especially when it rains heavily. These merchants at the Nkololon market in Douala complain business activities are slow whenever it rains, stay indoors when the downpour is heavy. For real, we are trying anyhow we can. We had about 1,000 people here. They have all left because of the rain and water. What can we do? I'm not comfortable, but I have 2 children to feed. Those who brave the bad weather to be present at their business places say they must wait for the rains to cease before displaying their goods. The rain stopped us from leaving the house early today in the morning. I got here after 11 a.m. It's almost midday and I can't even display my goods because of the rain and standing water.
L'occasion de mieux installer parce que les fines là me permettent pas de
que quand il pleut, il faudra attendre la pluie sécher avant que se calme légèrement.
When it rains, we have to wait for it to cease before we can sell because people don't leave their homes early on rainy days. Coupled with bad streets in the market, moving about the Douala Central Market too can be really daunting. As the rainy season fast approaches, the merchants are already taking precautionary measures so the weather doesn't negatively affect their business activities.
It's like the center is holding water no more. Yes, another crisis in a church in Cameroon. Those of you who've been keenly following news in churches in Cameroon will know that dust is yet to completely settle on the conflict opposing some officials of the Redeemer Baptist Church, that's in Queen Bamenda, and the Cameroon Baptist Convention over the ownership of the church planted in the Queen neighborhoods of Bamenda 3, that's in the northwest region of Cameroon. But we're not going to be talking that this time around. A crisis, a conflict, diverging opinions in the Presbyterian Church in Kumba Town, that's in the Memelfi southwest region of Cameroon. The church service yesterday closed prematurely. Yes, Christians were angry, disrupted church service over the attempts from what they qualify, that is the attempt from the parish priest and others of Presbyterian Church Kumba Town to change the chair lady. They say that the chair lady elected by most Christians is the person they want to occupy the position. But why are the parish priests and their supporters not willing to let the lady, Mrs. Comfort Nkele, continue or work in the position of chair lady of Presbyterian Church Kumba Town? Is part of this report compiled by Simat Jikangebe, A Crisis in the Church.
A church house transformed into a Chinese parliament. We are at the Presbyterian Church in Kumba Town, where Christians forced the Sunday service to come to an end arbitrarily because of a pastor's decision that didn't go well with them.
They cannot just bring people to come and make a by-election in the convention without announcing it for a Sunday. When you want to announce and do any donation or anything, they announce it. Even if they offer for anyone, they announce it before they do it. But today they have just come with a group of pastors. They are going to do a by-election. They are leaving the church of the convention. We don't know why.
The Christians argued that the decision by the parish pastors of PC Kumba Town, Reverend Mrs. Mary Wose and Reverend Mrs. Vetin Tambi, to call for an election to replace the chair lady of the church, Mrs. Nkele Comfort, was unconstitutional.
They decide on what the problem is. Send it to the synod. You don't just stand on your own and say, because you don't want to work for somebody, you start asking the person to be moved. The convention is the sole person to decide who stays and who does not stay, not the pastor. The pastor is the pastor by.
Because the pastors were eager to go ahead with the said exercise, the church service was brought to an abrupt end. Apart from the change denied by the Christians, they also noticed something in the church which they termed strange and mystical.
Is it medicine or what that they brought as a Is it the champion? This thing was always been done before Christians come here. Don't come in the Greek. I don't know. Is it for champion or what? Is it the champion Christian? Because it's not correct. I've not seen it before. Where in any church you don't have start throwing water in church when people are there? Who knows what kind of water they're throwing?
As a result of the incident, the Christians of PC Kumba Town are calling on the church's authorities to remove those they have termed thieves and embezzlers from PC Kumba Town. To make matters worse, all Christians were sent out of the church with the doors locked. Attempts at getting the reaction of the pastors who were accused, they told us that for the time being, the church's hierarchy has asked them to sit quiet as a team was sent to Kumba by the moderator of the PCC, Right Reverend Funky Samuel Foba, for an investigation to be carried out.
A crisis, a noise in the church, protests and people shouting, expressing contrary opinions, diverging and conflicting views within the house of God. It is similar to that of a video captured at the Redeemer Baptist Church that's in Queen Bamenda at the time when the executive president of this Cameroon Baptist Convention and some key officials came with a notice to Christians of that church. They indicated that the Reverend Father, rather the pastor of that church, Reverend Pastor Jatu, was dismissed, according to them, from the activities of the church. He wasn't working in collaboration. This story we are compiling, we shall be coming back to it, but the Reverend Father of that church too and his supporters are advancing their points as to indicate that he is the owner of that church. Questions many have been asking is if the Christians and the house of God in Cameroon has turned into a place to fight for individuals or interests different from that of the gospel. We shall be coming back to it. Yes, it's a promise, but this time around it was a Presbyterian, it wasn't a Presbyterian church, it wasn't a Baptist church, but in a Catholic church in the Open Camp division of the West region of Cameroon, where Christians gathered to see a marriage, to celebrate a marriage from an individual. Little did they know that he was already married, but the marriage plans and ceremony could not go. It was disrupted by children of the man who came and said, "Father, you are already married to our mother, you have 2 other wives and cannot go on with such a marriage in church." Christians were surprised that the man had already gotten married to 2 other women. Shocking story compiled by our reporter Asia Lucy, who was on the scene of the incident in the West region.
Tense atmosphere in the Diocese of Bafang, West region of Cameroon, as Mr. Masango secretly decides to marry a 3rd wife. Married to 2 wives and 15 children is the case of the latter, who lives in Kekem in the Otkam division. Having failed to organize his marriage in 2020, finally succeeded without the consent of his children and wife.
À la cathédrale même de Bafang.
We were surprised when we got a call that our father is getting married in the Cathedral of Bafang. The news to us wasn't favorable, reason we went to report to the village. Even when this information reached Christians in the village, they all were dissatisfied and were against it. Having that, they know Mr. Masango. He is a husband to 2 women and father to 15 children. After our father heard what the Christian of Mwebo said, he went to Bafang, where he organized another wedding. Investigations done, Mr. Masango's children noticed the wedding was to take place in a hidden place. On Saturday, the 25th of June 2022, the children alongside their aunt decided to stop the ceremony. The bishop of the Bafang Diocese, surprised at the act, says it's beyond his control.
Je voudrais dire toute ma désolation pour ce qui s'est passé au début de cette célébration. Je pense que c'est pas nécessaire.
I want to start by apologizing for the incidents that just happened. But what I want to say is that at the level of the church, things are done openly. Thus, everybody that was programmed for the weddings today went through the legal procedures and are in conformity with the civil law. Unfortunately, there are certain things in one's private life that we cannot follow legally, but just through morals. So in terms of law, all marriages had their place. We also invited some family members to regulate amicably some considerations, because we don't have legal reasons to deprive someone who has chosen the right path in respecting what the church demands.
Donc vous faites mention, n'est-ce pas, de régler les autres considérations à l'amiable.
To the children, all they want is peace, so they call on their father to reunite them in order for them to have a common understanding before going in for the 3rd wife. They are tired of the mockeries they receive every day.
Shocking scene is an incident within church premises in Cameroon at a time when the church is expected to be strong and up and pray for the people of the northwest and southwest English-speaking regions of Cameroon, caught in an armed conflict running on for 5 years now, with enormous atrocities committed on these people by belligerent parties. It is a statement used by Human Rights Watch in its most recent report. It says that the people of the Anglophone regions of Cameroon continue to have their rights violated. They continue to suffer atrocities in the hands or within the context of the armed conflict opposing the army or security forces of the state of Cameroon and non-state armed groups. Yes, the report is compiled by Ann Abila.
According to the senior Central African researcher at Human Rights Watch, armed separatist groups have continuously kidnapping, terrorizing and killing civilians across the English-speaking regions of Cameroon. This with no apparent fear of being held to account by either their own leaders or Cameroonian law enforcement. The most recent report by Ilaria Alegrozi indicate that separatist fighters have burnt at least 2 schools, attacked a university, kidnapped 8 people including 33 students and 5 teachers between the month of January and June. In January, reports say in Way village in the northwest region, separatist fighters attacked DHS Way, kidnapped teachers and injured students for not respecting orders of school boycott. Also, a group of students were stripped naked in Bokova in the Fako division, with similar reasons advanced by the fighters. And still in January, workers of Edinau and Tiko plantations were abducted by suspected Amber boys. They were later released on January 25. In the months of February, March and April, several other atrocities were committed. These include Catholic seminarians who were kidnapped in Bachwontai in the Manu division. The Catholic authorities say they were released the next day, while a nurse of the Cameroon Baptist Hospital was shot dead at the Mile 90 checkpoint in the northwest region, with his colleague, a medical doctor, wounded by separatists. The boys would later apologize to the CBC, saying it was a case of mistaken identity. Still on attacks on medical personnel and health institutions, the Mamfe District Hospital was also burnt down by alleged Amber fighters. Plus, the Queen of the Rosary College of Koyong, still in the same locality, which was attacked and some dormitories razed to ashes. And in April, separatist fighters stormed the Bamile University campus and fired gunshots in the air, causing panic, which led to a stampede. 5 students were injured. The fighters say the university disrespected lockdown rules. Still in the northwest region, the senator for the SDF was kidnapped. Barrister Henry Kemende was later murdered in cold blood. Plus, the recent kidnap of CPDM senator Regina Mundi. In the month of May, the body of Lukong Francis, a retired teacher of GBHS Jakiri, was found with traces of torture. Witnesses who spoke with Human Rights Watch say it was kidnapped by suspected separatists in retaliation for participating in May 20 celebrations in Bamenda. And considering all the atrocities faced by inhabitants of the northwest and southwest regions, diplomats from Canada, Norway, South Africa, Switzerland, UK and America in a joint statement are calling on all stakeholders to the Anglophone crisis to respect the right to education and the right to life and stop attacks on schools. This recent report by Human Rights Watch mentioned clearly that government troops have also committed human rights violations, including extensive burning of villages, homes and shops, killings, torture, mistreatment, incommunicado detention and rape of civilians. The human rights researcher says Cameroon's regional and international partners should intensify calls on the Cameroonian government for accountability and better protection of civilians. Ilaria Alegrozi adds that they should also impose targeted sanctions such as travel bans and asset freezes on separatist leaders who bear responsibility for committing abuses.
Untamed atrocities committed on the people of the northwest and southwest English-speaking regions of Cameroon. 2 English-speaking regions rocked in an armed conflict with atrocities as outlined there by reporter Anna Bila. This time around, we're taking you up north, to the north region of Cameroon, Garwa, in Lende neighborhood, where a 22-year-old man is said to have been arrested by security officials. He is accused of killing his matron. The errant boy decided to take away the life of the woman who's been paying him for several months as a worker. He was eager to be as rich as the woman, decided to kill her in order to take her properties, as Mala Glory tells us in the following report.
He pleads guilty for killing his mistress, says his prayers a plea for clemency. 22-year-old Dairu Mamat, working as a domestic servant, murdered his matron in the locality of Lainde, north region of Cameroon, and dropped her off her properties. We discovered the corpse of a 49-year-old woman, Dudu Rachel, in a state of decomposition in her room. She was living with her 2 children and an errand boy who disappeared days after the act. 49-year-old Dudu Rachel was discovered dead in her own room. Investigations were immediately launched, which led to the arrest of her errand boy. In the course of his arrest, the security officials warns the population to be vigilant. My message to the population is to be vigilant. Suspect and dangerous persons live within us. More importantly, the population should always be ready to denounce any suspected act. It's only a close collaboration with the population that permits us to obtain such results. He has been taken to the regional police in Garwa for further investigations.
22-year-old Dairu Muhammad has pleaded guilty of killing the matron in the far north region of Cameroon, and separatists as well as state security forces have been accused by Human Rights Watch of committing atrocities in the northwest and southwest English-speaking regions of Cameroon. But just what legal actions await these people is a question in most minds back home now. And Cameroon's Minister of Justice, keeper of the seal, who is also Minister of State, Minister Laurent Esso, attempted answering questions related to this from elected officials of the lower house of parliament, members of parliament at the Ngwaikele Glass House in Yaoundé. He was asked key questions by members of parliament. Responding to the questions, the minister had the opportunity to answer questions and give explanations for judicial delays in Cameroon, overcrowded prison facilities, as well as other issues linked with incommunicado detentions and delays in judicial procedures. We have a roundup of some of the questions asked to the Minister of Justice, but also those asked to Cameroon's Minister of Energy and Water Resources as to why many localities in Cameroon continue to have epileptic electricity supply and inadequate potable drinking water, difficult access to water. Innocent Ase.
During a June plenary sitting chaired by House Speaker Kavaye Yege Jibril, dedicated to oral questions to members of government, the Minister of Justice and Keeper of the Seals responded to 2 questions asked by Honorable Saya Kaigama, who sought to know why the text to lay down conditions for the enforcement of alternative sentences to reduce overcrowding in prisons has been amended and the judicial delays still persist in course. In his response, the minister said, pursuant to section 26, sub 1 of the Penal Code, alternative sentences may be passed only for offences punishable with imprisonment of less than 2 years or with fine only. Actually, alternative sentences do not apply to sanctions ordered by judges for offences which, because of mitigating circumstances or diminished responsibility, are punishable with an imprisonment sentence of less than 2 years. Moreover, sentences to pay fines and court costs which are passed in these cases shall be immediately enforceable after judgments are rendered. Alternative sentences do not apply, as they are tantamount to an imprisonment order issued right away by the trial court. The Justice Minister added that there are only 78 offences punishable with alternative sentences, out of a total of about 260 offences provided for in the penal code. Another minister's grilled was Gaston Elundu Esomba of Water and Energy. He explained actions taken by his ministry to tackle water and electricity supply challenges in Cameroon. To boost electricity supply in the northern interconnection network that concerns the Adamawa, North and Far North regions, he cited the dismantling of 27 generators from the Ahala Power Station in Yaoundé to Ngaoundéré, Garoua and Marwa power plants. A solar energy power supply project is on course with Huawei to electrify 1,000 localities around Lagdo, and another with the Marwa Gider Solar Company. Government has also initiated the Bini Awarak Dam project that will produce 75 megawatts of energy to supplement power from the Lagdo Dam. Mini Dam in Bakwa to produce 1.2 megawatts. In the long term, there will be the interconnection project between the southern and northern networks from the Naktiga Hydroelectric Dam that is expected to be functional in March 2024. Concerning the Eastern Electricity Interconnection Network that concerns only the East region, he said, in the 12 coming months, the first turbines from the Lompanga Dam project will go operational and will supply 7.5 megawatts of energy, while waiting for the 3 others to go operational progressively by June 2022 and will boost energy supply by 30 megawatts. Electricity will also be transported from Ahala in Yaoundé to Abongbang, thereby connecting the southern network to the east, expected in December 2021. Within the framework of the Lompanga project, Electricity Development Corporation will electrify 150 localities in the East region. As concerns actions taken to ensure the steady supply of potable water in localities in Cameroon, he says his ministry is not asleep.
Ministers Laurent Esso, yes, Cameroon's Minister of State, Minister of Justice and Keeper of the Seal, Laurent Esso, and his colleague Gaston Elundu Esomba of Water and Energy Resources grilled by members of parliament in Yaoundé. And on sports, Wikuda Douala branch president Nzi Golof says he is a happy and an accomplished president. He was speaking at the launch of the Wikuda Douala football tournament for nation building yesterday Sunday. The president was speaking joyfully after a mammoth crowd answered present for the exercise, the sporting exercise that aims at bringing together sons and daughters under his control, as well as identifying to promote young talent in Cameroon. We shall be coming back to the reaction of the Wikuda president subsequently, but time for us to take an advertorial in this edition of the news to save the Community Refugee Relief Initiative, whereas the CRRI is breaking new grounds to bring hope, relief and sustainable assistance to the hundreds of thousands of Cameroonians who have fled violence in the northwest and southwest conflict-stricken regions to seek refuge in the neighboring Federal Republic of Nigeria. On the occasion of the 2022 edition of the World Refugee Day, the organization brought food and medical aid to refugees in Nigeria, Cameroonian refugees in Nigeria. Most precise, in line with its sustainable livelihood project, the CRRI has established a multipurpose center in Komi, Nigeria. Details in the following report.
Refugees from the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon welcoming their visitors on World Refugee Day 2022. This is the third time the chairperson of the Board of Directors of the Community Refugee Relief Initiative, CRRI, Dr. Tancho Celestine, and his team are visiting there.
That's a song that we hear each time we come here, and it just kind of resonated with us that we are back here at Agbokim Waterfall.
These children and their parents, for some, have been here in Agbokim Waterfalls, a Tung local government area, Cross River State of Nigeria, for several years in very difficult conditions.
With the suffer, if we not go work job, we not get something away with this job. And job here for Nigeria, it be scarce.
I have 3 kids. I don't have money to take care to the kids. I'm just struggling by myself.
It's not really that easy. You know, say when something happens, when you leave your own place to another place, it's not that really easy. It's just that like you just start a new life, a new beginning for everything where you don't get. Many do not get something doing.
The major challenges we are facing where we have health and let me say and nutrition.
Hunger is a big problem. They have difficulty sending their children to school, and it touches us in a special way because education is the key out of difficulty.
The CRRI team has been visiting with food and medical supplies for the refugees.
The very first time we came here 3 years or so ago, there was something about this community. First of all, they have so many children out here. And as a father, when you see so many children that are refugees, it touches you in a special way.
The moment of fellowship brings much relief to the children and parents here in Agbokim Waterfalls.
I'm even rejoicing more than the children that have those parcels.
They don't come for cancer, we picking them. We're very happy with them. Where they come so.
They help, we're picking them where people, they not get papa, they not get mommy. I thank God how they come for can help some of we parents who not get money, who not get nothing.
I want to just appreciate God so much for their kind gesture.
I love CROS because they are taking care of us. Thank God for the CRRI that come and help us today.
We brought you some painkillers, ibuprofen. Like I said, I did not know that there was an establishment here. So now that we know, we're going to try to bring more supplies to you when we come next, okay?
I'm very, very happy. I'm thanking the CRRI for what they have been doing upon our people down here in Ground 1. I say thank you very much.
I'm happy for your coming, honestly. You know, if we stay long without you people visiting us, it's as if we are abandoned. But if we are seeing you like this, we are having hope.
From Agbokim to Adagon 1 refugee camp in Ogoja, the CRRI takes part in the World Refugee Day activities organized by the United Nations High Commission for Refugees.
I want to thank the Nigerian government for the accommodation that they have accorded them for the past close to 5 years. Thank you very much. I want to encourage my brothers and sisters that you have not been forgotten. We are here to support, encourage you, and even though the darkness seems to be so long, there is going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. Hopefully sooner than later. So keep hope alive.
The CRRI chairman, Dr. Tancho, hands over footballs to over 5 refugee settlements. This dimension of relief is later put into practice during an encounter between refugees of the CRRI and others of Adagon 1 settlement, a match won by the CRRI team 3-1. Earlier, a visit to some of the refugees trained by the CRRI in diverse walks of life will enable the organization evaluate the level of progress made after training. It will later graduate a handful of trainees at the CRRI Career and Empowerment Center in Ogoja and at the Caritas office, Calabar.
I've benefited a lot from CRRI, so I'm appreciating them.
I'm very happy with the CRRI and what you have done to us, most especially for the knowledge they impact on us, especially in the anomaly sector.
I thank God for the training CRRI gave me. It was not easy, but at least I was able to pick up something.
I was trained by the CRRI
as a computer trainer.
CRRI trainers. I've been able to rent machine. I have contract with some schools there. I will do the contract to help myself, help my own mother and my grandson.
I'm into aluminium, Alumaco work, and I so much thank the CRRI for the great opportunity and the great handwork that they have given unto me.
To step up the CRRI relief efforts and sustainable assistance to refugees, a multi-purpose center has been established in Equinoxe.
The main accomplishment this trip is the launching of our multi-purpose center in Equinoxe, where we have workshops in tailoring, hairdressing, carpentry, alumaco, and a modern ICT center to continue with our effort in information technology training.
To succeed, Dr. Tancho urges the refugees to be brave, pushful, determined, and above all, have faith.
In tomorrow's edition, we're going to be having the other side of the story from the Social Democratic Front, the SDF opposition political party in Cameroon. You sure want to know why Barrister Bobala decided to turn down the nomination. He was appointed to a key strategic position within the SDF party. Yes, over the weekend, news touched Cameroonians that he's turned down the offer. You sure want to know his reasons. We sure shall be bringing that tomorrow. And opposing voices to the nominations made by the Social Democratic Front's national chairman, Nijon Frundi. We're going to be compiling that all tomorrow and talking on talking points with key officials within the party. Ladies and gentlemen, we're sorry we're not going to be having talking point today for technical reasons. We assure you that we'll be back with it fully tomorrow. Thanks for staying with us. Still Equinoxe. The best is just on Equinoxe. Coming up, we'll have Equinoxe Soir. And after Equinoxe Soir, our full newscast in the French language with Julien Berg beside myself. I'm going to be back here tomorrow at 6 p.m. God willing.
Equinoxe Télévision, au-delà de l'image, nous rendons compte. De lundi à vendredi sur